Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, 3 minutes to go. Okay, 3 minutes to go. Hello.
Good.
Is this Adder?
Indeed.
Yep.
So what's the itinerary for today? Just look over the playoff stuff?
Yep. I've got wait until you see this sexy slideshow that I made up with all of the playoff brackets. So I thought we would kind of go through like each one, right? I started with vet. I probably should have started with rookie, but oh well. I put a lot of work into this, so I'll kind of put the slide up, kind of give my 2 cents, and then ask each of you to kind of give your thoughts, and such. So I'm pretty psyched about this. Haven't done it in a while.
Yeah, I was looking through the channels and like, I miss doing these. I should just type something.
So yeah, maybe next season I might do more of these because my vet team I didn't renew. I'm not sure what I'm going to do as far as helping out. Oh my God, Real Quad L. I love the write-ups that he does, and I mean, I like being able to help him. And DL Kurt did the defense. I'm struggling big time right now in the game. My stuff just isn't working. The only reason why Bad made the playoffs was because of LX. So I don't know. I'm not leaving the game, but I'm definitely paring down like my playing. I'll make characters and maybe I'll make more content. But it sounds like we had a couple other people join us. Yes.
Yeah, we have a bunch of people here.
Nice.
Alex and Higher Growth and
Nice.
Edgar was here momentarily as well.
I think what I'm going to do is give people about, even though we said an 11 o'clock start, I think I'm going to say, 10 o'clock your time. I think I'm going to give people about 5 more minutes, and then we'll kick this bad boy off. But at least people can hear us kind of just shooting the shit while we wait for the official start.
What is it we're waiting on?
Well, let's see. Did we have actually? Higher guest is a guest, so I'm awesome. Higher growth, sorry, is a guest. I'm awesome. I'm glad about that. Is Raid here?
He is.
Not yet, at least.
But we do have Adder, LX, Dr. Edgar, and Higher Growth.
Yep. You might have to redo your stream in Discord, by the way. It says you have an application open for it. So you want to make sure you're casting the right application or your screen.
All right. Did you guys see my... Does it say a GLB2 stream like with the football? Do you see that on the screen?
No, you're streaming your messenger, and then when you minimize it, it makes it so that it doesn't show up.
All right, let me see here now, because on this, let me just try to close those. It's live. All right, so I'm looking at it on Twitch. So I got to go into yeah.
On Discord here.
Yeah. All right. Let me see here. Oh, I see. Because it's got my little thing here.
Yeah.
How do I? Oh, maybe if I just shut
Stop streaming.
Well, stop streaming my stream. On Twitch or on
Discord.
Let me do back to that. Cool. Start an activity. I'm gonna stop streaming. There we go.
All right, now you're going to go back to share your screen, and you're going to select the web browser or your internet.
Is that working, or is that the same thing?
That works.
That works. All right, perfect. Okay, here we go. I think we're good to go. So let me start this. All right, we haven't done this in a while. Kind of feels good to be back. Whoops, what do we got here? Okay, so GLB2 stream of Season 73 playoff preview with special guests Adderfist, LX, Dr. Edgar, and Higher Growth. Raid is not with us at the moment, I don't believe. And if anyone else has popped on, please introduce yourself. I've got so much different technology going on right now that I can't see everything. But all right, here we go. Kicking it off. Starting with the Jupiter League, right? We have the number one Daharan team, Heroes Daharan team versus the wild card Rabid Lizards. Daharan are 13, finished the regular season 13-1. The Lizards 10-4. Daharan's only league loss was to staying inside. They did beat the Lizards pretty bad both times they played them in the regular season. For this reason, I'm going to pick Daharan to defeat the Rabid Lizards. And just on that 10-4 Rabid Lizards, I'm just going to say, over and out, good buddy. Do any of my guests want to speak to the Daharan Empire Rabid Lizards game? Y'all still there? I didn't lose you.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So no one can say. All right. So if anyone wants to say anything, I'll let you. After I do my thing, I'm going to invite you all to do your thing. If I don't hear anything, then we'll just go on to the next game because we've got a shit ton of games to do. So who's calling for the Lizards? Who's calling the game for the Lizards?
I think it's either Rabbit or ATO Bruce.
All right.
I think Rabbit's been doing most everything on it still.
All right.
I mean, this game to me just seems like straight game planning, right? It's all it's going to come down to. Like, as far as matchup goes otherwise, I think it's just 50-50. So I think it's just going to be whichever coach puts in more effort is going to take this one.
I hear you. I personally think that Daharan might have a slight edge, as they had beat them. They only have one loss in the regular season, and they had beaten the Lizards pretty good both times. So I think that CRL is going to have to do some major game planning, and Hero is going to have to just go on what he does for the Lizards to have a chance.
Yeah, and so Hero's been busy currently, so that's what I mean. Is it's like if he puts in like a 5-minute game plan, I can see Rabbit if he really sits down beating him. Otherwise, yeah, I'd give the Daharan the edge.
All right. Moving on to our second game. This is going to be a good game. I don't know about the first game being so close. I think that Hero is going to. I know he's been busy, but I think he's going to step up. I think he's hungry for a championship. Kentucky versus staying inside. Kentucky 11-3, staying inside 10-4. This is much like the first game with as far as Hero going solo with the Haran, and I hear Myrick or Bob is going solo with Kentucky, and they've both been busy. The number 3 team staying inside. If you look at their coaching staff, that's like Alex and company is what I called it in my notes. And I think that I'm picking staying inside to stay alive in the playoffs for this match. But we'll just talk about the first round like this week, and that'll give us time to adjust this and talk about the second round before the second round is played. So, any thoughts on Kentucky versus staying inside? Alex, I'm sure you have a lot of thoughts.
Staying inside is really easy to beat if your personnel are built for it. Otherwise, it can be really hard. Like the whole superstar D line or O line, if you're not invested in run stopping, that team will just maul you. There's nothing you can do about it. But Myrick has always been huge on run stopping on his D line, so I think it's not as disadvantageous as it otherwise might be.
I think I still take staying inside on Kentucky as well.
Yeah, I'd give it to stay inside just because it's snow, right? And we have a power back on staying inside, and Kentucky doesn't. And I feel like that's always a slight edge when you're in playoffs.
Totally agree. Anyone else?
I think it's got to be staying inside here. Just the way the sim lines up, the snow, and everything else all together with the sim changes really lean away from Kentucky.
Especially not being a passing attack right into a zone team that helps that you're running the ball.
Yeah.
So the big thing for me, Lieutenant, is for staying inside is that's with Alex and company, we don't game plan. I think I've changed the game plan twice all season outside of what the default is Cabo has set. With what it is, if they don't, Kentucky might get them because elusive backs have gotten a balance bonus right now would be the one thing I'd say.
You guys kill me. We don't game plan, and you still kick ass. I'm jealous.
The Bills just do all the work, huh?
Yeah. Mars League. Moving on to Mars League. We have the number 1 Grape Apes at 14-0 versus the wild card. I just abbreviated it to Penny and Company. 11-3 on the season. But 11-3 is not 14-0. So obviously, Penny and Company did lose to the Grape Apes, but it was a close one. It looks like I have in my notes that it was 42-38. So there is an opportunity for Penny and Company to maybe win in a tight battle, but there is much like staying inside. There's a lot of experience on that coaching staff for the Grape Apes and really solid builds as well. So I'm picking the Grape Apes to win in round 1. Anybody on Grape Apes and Penny and Company?
I'm as much as I love Bourbon, I'm much more confident about this one than saying it's one's Grape Apes is going to win this game, and I don't think there's anything Bourbon can do to stop us from doing it.
I don't really see Grape Apes.
I mean, unless Birdman wants to set his secrets of what he's going to do in the game here.
I mean,
my team name makes it no secret.
Yeah. I don't think Birdman has a secret.
I'm just hoping for 7 touchdowns. That's all I hope for.
There's 7 special teams touchdowns.
Yeah, unfortunately, in the last game, in the last game where it was 42-38, I think you said, that was just default. So that was Penny doing Penny things against pass tags. But in the snow, I'm just going to go 100% run, right? Penny's slower. There's just nothing he can do. Grape Apes have 2 power backs.
Yeah, the snow really undermines Penny's 100 speed with 40 quickness.
Anyone else on game 1, Mars League? No, we'll move on to game 2. Moving on to game 2. We have the Logzilla Boys, number 2 Logzilla Boys, 11-3 record, versus the Kingdom, coming in with a 7-7 record. This game, I want to say that it's nice to see Czars returning to the playoffs. Right? I think he might even have another team in a playoff game as well.
He may.
And the Kingdom, all I have to say about the Kingdom, congratulations on making the playoffs. But I believe in this game that the Kingdom is going to fall. Anyone else on Logzilla versus the Kingdom?
I don't think it can go any other way. Kingdom's, I think, pretty much unboosted from my understanding. Logzilla, Czars really isn't active, but just the unboosted completely, I think that. And Czars will probably pop in and throw something random that'll make it not important.
This is tough because I feel like any playoff. So secret maybe. Thief is my least favorite playoff person to play, bar anybody. More than Caboth, more than fucking Edgar, anybody.
I can agree.
Because you don't know what Thief you're getting. You could get Thief that doesn't give a damn, and he's going to run the same thing he's been running all season, and just hell or high water, the team either win or it won't. That Thief's fine. But you also have, I'm actually a top 10 coach Thief that if I want to turn it on, I can, and you have no idea what I'm going to do.
Yeah, this is something Alex and I have talked about a few times. We both agree, like, if Thief actually cared and wanted to try, he's a top coach. He understands how goal line works, but he also understands how real football works, and to mix the two is what makes that game playing if he wants to be a fan.
So to me, it all comes down to, does Thief just continue to do, like, pure passing, and I don't care what happens? If so, yeah, this is Logzilla's game all day long. But if he wants to win, he can win.
I agree.
I think there'll be a lot of points.
So is Feep the Kingdom?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So really,
Yeah, but
for both
his
teams-
brother's account.
for both teams, it really depends on which coach shows up. Czars and Thief.
Yeah, I agree. Zars is a talented coach as well. I just feel like
He's kind of Thief motto. He doesn't care as much. And doesn't.
yeah, he's in the same boat. Either one could game plan, the other not, and then it's just a slaughter. But Thief just scares me because he does it more often, I feel like, than Zars does.
I
Thief
think
will just for a game do it for no reason.
I think the game planning really has to be more so on feet for this one, just because of the unboosted aspect.
Yeah,
It's a lot of points for nothing.
no changes at all. Logzilla just wins.
Yeah, Zars has been game planning as of late. He game planned last game to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, he
it
talked a
shows
little
it.
bit. He's been showing up a little more this year.
That's good. We need to get the old one back.
I'm gonna send him a text now.
He shut down Rashad Penny yesterday.
Who did?
In fairness.
Zars.
Czars. Yeah, Czars. When he used to be like serious, he was really, really good. And then I think he needed a little bit of not a break, 'cause he didn't go away from the game, but he wasn't as serious. And it seems to me like this season we're seeing him return to form. All right, we ready to go on to the next league, or anyone else they want to stay on Mars League? All right,
Let's go to the next one.
here we come. How do you like the slides? Aren't they sexy?
Yes.
Yeah, it's great.
Not as sexy as the commentary, but I'm still proud of them. All right, so Mercury League, right? We have Cavo's Show Me What You Got at 14-0 versus the Celestial Bodies at a very as the wild card. Get this, wild card 12-2, and that's only because of Show Me What You Got. So if Celestial Bodies can figure out how to beat Cavo, or if Cavo doesn't plan for this, which I can't see because he's 14-0, why he wouldn't plan for this. We could see more of the same. So I pick Show Me What You Got to win this game. Thoughts?
I think this one could be a toss-up. I think it leans towards Kavoth, but Celestial Body's not a slouch.
I disagree, but if only because it's Caboth not a 50-50. I think it's like 90-10. I think the fact that higher growth even is the quality coach he is why he even gets that 10, right? Like, playoffs against both, if you're not a very exclusive list of coaches, the chance of you winning is 0%.
So the one I question is Cabo going to game plan or not? But there's one I noticed it and I literally just messaged Cabo about this yesterday. When Bort made the height weight balance change 2 weeks ago, I specifically noticed in like Cabo's team with his elusive back and some other elusive halfbacks, the balance change just kind of made like his halfback almost unstoppable because I've used like the game plan. Stay inside, show me what you got. Speaking of the double, I used that same one for DeHaren. I was like, let me see if I can get him, and it looked completely different. Yet DeHaren has better tackling, but it was one just those halfbacks now just they'll break 4 tackles even at elusive and be going.
Do you say Cabo just joined us?
Yep.
Yeah, he's on.
Yeah, he did.
Nice. Hey, Cabo. Perfect timing, my friend. We're just talking about your matchup versus Celestial Bodies right now, and I think most of us had you winning. I guess the question is, how much did you game plan for this, buddy?
He said he's not really going to be able to talk. I saw that message.
I must have walked away or something.
So he's still listening to us. So I guess we shouldn't say all those mean, nasty things that we were going to say about him.
I was about to talk about how much I'm going to destroy Shelby, but now that he's in here, you know.
Oh yes, Hire, you are in here too. Hey, I want to say, bud, that these past few seasons, 2 or 3 seasons, right? I think that you and is it KO? Are 2 people that I've seen really, really active in the forums, asking questions, improving your teams, and I just want to congratulate you, man.
Appreciate it. Anything?
Dude, I think Celestial Bodies as a whole is a really, really good team.
It's a team that any other league it would have trophies on its wall. It's just because they're against show me what you got.
Moving on to the second game, number 2, Water Boys. Another one of my favorite coaches in the league, Ace. Right, so glad to see him in the playoffs. 11-3 versus I got so many favorite coaches. DL Kurt and his Northwest Storm. I remember back in the day having some beauties of games with some of my teams against his teams at 10-4. The Storm won their only regular season game. Because I love these guys so much, I'm not gonna pick this game. I think it's gonna be a great game. I'm excited to watch it. Does anyone else have anything they want to say on Water Boys versus Northwest Storm?
This one's gonna be close.
Just say we're even happy to be there because we were on defaults all season and we didn't think we were going to get in, and we somehow snuck a game against Cabo in the last game, and man, was it close.
Yeah, with the weather, I kind of see Storm pulling this one off.
I'm actually doing Water Boys on this one. I feel like Ace is a good enough coach, and his builds are probably more together than whatever Northwest Storm has at this point.
I will say though, so Adder, are you doing the offense and DL doing the defense for the Storm?
Yeah, that's correct.
Right, that's because I was thinking like DL.
I absolutely take Water Boys.
DL admits that offense is not his strength. I think that he's a very good, very solid, one of the top defensive minds in GLB2. But he struggles with offense. So to have you as his offensive coordinator, I think that balances out the Storm. So it's gonna be a great game. Like I said, I'm not gonna pick this one just because I have that I like both coaches' staffs so much. So
I'll be honest, if Scott and Kurt don't win this game, they're failures. Simply because they've been on defaults all year. and I know how both of them, when they actually game plan, do. There's no reason they shouldn't beat Waterboys like 15.
It depends if I run a strong shift against tight ends, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't do some crazy shit like that.
I'm giving this one to Ace of Spades. I think he can do it. I think just the quality of Bills and the coach. It's both are quality enough where I think they can win this game.
But we all agree it's going to be one hell of a game.
Oh yeah, but 28-24 or something like that, it's going to be a disappointment.
Yeah, I was going to say like 35-32 or something.
Come down to the wire.
The biggest thing I said is
go ahead.
current game plans are not on defense.
So
I fully expect Ace to be all in on this one, and it to be basically a barn burner.
You can always expect Ace to game plan, it feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is his only team. I think maybe.
Because of Cousins, I don't know. It would be surprising. I think he usually runs 2 at least.
Maybe
Yeah, I think he
had
had chapter 1.
All right, moving on to the pro. That was the vets. Moving on to the pro league, pro team.
I just some
Go
joke.
ahead.
The Waterboys will blame you guys for not letting him have 2 kickers if he loses.
As they rightly should, by the way.
All right, moving on to pro. Now that somebody's tried to take a hot topic there.
Hey, wait a second, this isn't pro.
Saturn's pro.
This is vet, baby.
That's vet,
That's
baby.
vet. Oh, you know what? Yeah, my bad. There's 4 vet. I thought that I put pro on the bottom of my notes. All right, this is the fourth and final of vet. Thank you for catching me up on that one. Oh crap! I didn't put my notes down for San Salvador and ASE. Oh, well, I'm gonna let you guys carry that one then. But I do have notes down for number 1 Southside versus the wild card Midnight Vegas. Who would think that? Wait, is Midnight Vegas? Is that Phenom or Bo? That's Bo, right?
Midnight Vegas is DCF, right? Yeah, 100% DCF.
Okay. Man, I did not do much on this.
Bo did not make the playoffs, as I said he wouldn't.
Yeah. So I as much as I like DCF, and he's up against Southside and Dr. Edgar, who is again on this one. This is his first of many, as we'll see the theme. I think he's got 3 teams that are in the playoffs that are all looking at looking for the championships and undefeated regular seasons. I didn't look at the whole ladder stuff because that's a whole other thing. But the Southside Rebels are like a perennial playoff team, if not like fighting for the championship themselves. So it's hard not to take the Rebels in this one. So any thoughts on the Rebels and Midnight Vegas?
I think Southside's going to get it, but Vegas also not a slouch.
I'm thinking Midnight Vegas.
And I wouldn't be upset with that because his halfback, as I label him, is the Adderall and cocaine halfback. Because I will run tag him and he's still like, I'll hold him 100 yards, but he'll have 1 or 2 just monster runs on me. And that's the one. The passing changes definitely can help him against zone now because they just don't get as many picks. And he always plays me well. I mean, usually I play him 2 to 3 times a season. He'll play me 1 game just terrible, and all the other games will usually be really tight. And the more I play him, it kind of makes it more difficult.
I think DCF may have quietly been like the most improved coach over like the past 3 or 4 seasons. Like he was always a solid coach, but I feel like he's gone from like top 25 to like now he's in like that 8 to 10 range. Which that's a big difference in terms of how consistently you beat top teams. DCF is the real deal now.
Yeah, I enjoyed my collaboration with him. I think I collaborated with him right before the Data Apocalypse. He was doing the defense and I was doing the offense, I think. Can't remember. Maybe it was vice versa. But that was fun. Anyone else on Southside versus Midnight Vegas? Hearing none, we will move on to San Salvador Scorpions versus ASE. And I'm going to have you guys carry me on this one because I for some reason didn't take notes on this matchup. So I hope you guys know better than me. I'm not prepared.
For this game, I assume if Alex game plans for the team, I don't know that Dolomite can win this year. While like last year he was a really good team, the changes really hurt his team. And I'm not sure why his quarterback can tend to struggle and throw a lot of picks against some of the top teams, even whether they're man or zone. He'll go from laying it out to just kind of pick city, and I'm not sure what causes that. But assuming Alex will run the defense as always, if he hits the offense up too, Sansal will probably struggle.
The sim really hurt both teams, but San Salvador especially, with having to move away from the Blitz because of the changes on salary to the wide receivers not getting completely open. It hurts them a lot.
I think that's a fair point. His defense it's the same defense as last year. His defense was good last year, but it's definitely dropped this year.
I can say that I'll do the defense scheme plan, but I won't be doing offense. So it will be HZ, doing his thing there. I think it really just comes down to that more than anything. I think both defenses will be good. It's just going to come down to which offensive game plan is going to come out on top there.
All right, thank you.
This game, it could be an RNG based set at time.
So it doesn't help in a game like this. But I'm going to give it to San Salvador to edge us out here.
Thank you, gentlemen. Now moving on to the Pro League. The one and only division in Pro is the Maple League. That's going to make things interesting going forward, like what the future vet will look like. Be a little bit thinner, I guess, than it was this year. But anyways, we have number one Frost Giants at 14-0 versus the wild card. I did it again. I only put one down. Son of a gun. The Miami Vikings at 9-5. Congratulations on making the playoffs, Miami Vikings. But you are coming up against the Frost Giants and ELLIX. Enough said there. All Frost Giants. But again, Miami, congratulations on making the playoffs. What are your guys' thoughts?
I would be very disappointed if Frost Giant doesn't just absolutely sweep. That's what they're made for, is getting to the playoffs and then winning in it.
Even if the team overperforms.
Yeah, I'd say about the same thing. I don't really see Frost Giants getting slowed down. Looking forward to seeing them in vet.
Yeah, this team, when Alex and I made it, I mean, the original basis, we never expected to be this good, but we didn't expect the class to be so weak.
Yeah.
It's simply, we've set it up, we're like, we'll limp into the playoffs, and then playoff time, we're made for anti-snow and rain, really, so that's kind of, there's no...
Yeah, the whole plan was like, oh, we'll go 8-6 and we'll take the wild card slot, but then it'll be in snow, and we're designed to win in snow, so it won't matter. We'll carry the day that way. And then we lost like 2 games over since then.
One.
Oh, one ladder game must be.
We just lost our very last game against a vet team, 12-14 or something like that. So we had one loss.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot about that.
Only one loss ever in tier, if you want to count it that way, which was a really, really close game against. I'm not gonna. Yeah, I'm not gonna have his name now, but I think it's Niria.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
NYRIA, I think. Naria.
I think that's the one that we lost to.
And okay, anyone else on game 1? Looking to game 2, number 2, League of Legends versus the R-Cubed Renegade River Regulators. And again, I only did one of the teams here, but I am familiar enough with League of Legends. And even though I think, Hero, wasn't that your team, but you're doing another team? You stepped away.
Yeah, that was
LJ.
that was his team, and then he passed the ownership on over. Forgot who the guy is.
ATL Bruce.
Yes,
ATL Bruce doing that. Okay, so yeah, ATL Bruce. It's interesting. This is kind of him really stepping into coaching. He's always been making dots for all these teams, like a ton of dots and stuff. And so it's good to see him coaching this team and picking it up, because I committed 3 superstars to this team. And then Hayro decided to walk away. Probably not any other coach, but most other people that would have done that, I would have been like, okay, you don't need my superstars, and I can just, recycle them or give them to another team. But ATL picked up the team, and has done a really nice job getting them to the playoffs, the number two seed. I don't know as much about the Renegade River Regulators, but just because I got guys on League of Legends, I'm going to pick League of Legends.
So Renegade River Regulators are a very heavy run team that was made about the same time as ASE. So it's going to be a very heavy run from the quarterback and halfback, and you're just going to have to expect the ball to stay on the ground the entire game.
Yeah, I think the one thing that works in Renegade's disfavor is the fact that these two teams are essentially just doppelgangers of one another. They played the game exactly the same way offensively. So the only benefit that goes to either is that League of Legends still has a full superstar defense. Right?
Yeah, that D-Lock.
Yeah, I've got 4 stars on League of Legends. I kind of I can give some insight to the level that League of Legends was originally designed to be a pure cover 0 defense. It was one, I helped do some of the builds. It wasn't built for run defense at all. It was not expecting a bunch of other pure run teams. So it could still potentially struggle specifically to tackle. This game, I think, just depends on if either team game plans. If one game plans, because I don't think Hayros hasn't game planned at all for League of Legends anymore. So if Rapid happens to sneak in and actually do game plans, he could actually sneak this out.
Yeah, I don't give Rabbit enough credit. I have a ton of respect for him, but for the longest time, Rabbit, did a great job picking up with CRL. Did a great job picking up players from other teams that had kind of disbanded, and he had a lot of other guys, a lot of the top coaches that helped him out. And now, I still think he has other coaches that are helping him, but I think that he's doing more himself too, because he's learned a lot from all those coaches that have been on his teams. So yeah, you guys say that, and this really could go, given the weather and everything else, this really could go either way. But I'm gonna pick my superstar defensive line for League of Legends to shut down that inside run. Anyone else on Maple League before we move to sophomores? Hearing none?
None.
Ghost League. We have number 1 Bass Nation at 12-1-1 versus the wild card La Paz Groundhogs, who had a tiebreaker to sneak in at the wild card with a record of 9-5. Not a bad record, but definitely I think a wild card record when you look at some of these other records. So looking at my notes, Bass Nation beat La Paz pretty good in the regular season, and because La Paz just barely slipped into the wild card, I'm going to go with the number 1 Bass Nation. Thoughts?
Ridge Joker was talking to me about Bass Nation the other day. He was like, who is this guy? Is this a random new team? And I'm like, no, he's had that Bass Nation team around for a long time, but he usually never gets to vet. He tends to do fairly well in rookie and sophomore, and then after that's usually when his teams drop off. And I think from what I've seen in La Paz, the team just struggles against top 10 teams. So I think this is a Bass Nation kind of a bigger win.
Yeah, speaking of that a little bit, Nabachowski, or whatever the owner's name is, he's actually been around for like 30 seasons now. He was around like in one of the OG riff runs, even, I want to say. He's actually an experienced coach, and he's been pounding on it this whole time. He just had the luck of drawing like, I think, both iterations of riff, and he drew like Aztec, one season. Like, he gets beat up on a lot by like these really dynastic teams that he just happens to get shouldered with. But otherwise, he'd have more trophies on his wall because he's learned a lot. You can see him getting better from when he started out to now.
And he's also, speaking of that, like, he's done that primarily like on his own. I don't see him in the forums, either on GLB2 or in Discord. I think he's just learned from taking his lumps and from sticking with it. So I can respect that. I mean, gosh, I don't know that I would be where I am, which still isn't where you guys are at, if I didn't actively like ask you guys questions on builds and strategy and all that other stuff. So when you have a coach like him, although I don't recommend it, going solo and not like taking benefits of like the sharing kindness of the top coaches in the game, and get here, that's pretty impressive. It's respectable in my book.
I think it's respectable. I think being like a top 10 coach at this point of the game without having help is almost impossible, though. Like, the best coaches feed each other constantly information and challenge ideas, things like that make you better. Doing that by yourself, man, that would be almost impossible, I feel like. Even the best I could both, he's better because he can talk to other coaches and things like that. Totally
agree. Anyone else on Bass Nation versus La Paz? Going. Okay, moving on to probably a more interesting game. The number 2 Cornhuskers 2023 versus Run Tag Me. The Huskers coming in at 10-4 in the regular season. Run Tag Me coming in at 9-5 in the regular season, but they did beat the Cornhuskers during the regular season. So I think this is going to be another one of my favorite games to watch. A battle between Viper and Czars, right? So Viper's got a couple teams in the playoffs. Czars has got a couple teams in the playoffs. I mean, I've kind of like grown up with these two in GLB2, so I'm gonna enjoy watching the two of them battle it out. And again, I don't know. Again, it's one of those games that we talked about earlier about who's going to game plan, and who the weather is going to favor. So I did not make. I wimped out and did not make a pick on this game. Thoughts?
Go ahead, Howard.
I was just going to say, I don't know who to actually pick or anything. I just actually want to see the Cornhuskers go to the championship.
I don't know. I'm all run tagging for the exact opposite reason.
This is a game that purely I think Huskers have the advantage because he's pretty much an all-run team, and if you look at his game where Run Tag beat him, it was a 7-point game. Viper just got a random hair in his ass and decided to go pure pass in that game. Now, if Czars shows up and decides to game plan, I think Czars wins easy. But if they both go off of defaults, which is what I kind of expect, I think Cornhuskers just kind of take this one.
I'm the opposite. I think Run Tag actually takes it.
I agree.
The number of superstars is insurmountable if there is no game planning.
It blows my mind that you get a team to the playoffs and you go default. That just blows my mind. That, honestly, not meant in a rude way, but I bust my ass to win. Even if busting my ass means leaning heavily on Alex to get into the playoffs, right? I mean, if I have a playoff team, I'm gonna game plan, and in this case, I'm handing the ball. My game plan is handing the ball to Alex, but because I really think that he can do a better job in this our game than coming up than I could. But still, I almost lose respect for any coach that gets to the playoff, earns a playoff spot over coaches that are busting their asses, and then they just throw in defaults. Like I can understand during the regular season some of you guys running defaults because you're running over people. But this is the flipping playoffs. Before we talk about before we go to the next one, let's take a little tangent. Anyone want to comment on my comments about running defaults in the playoffs?
I mean, I've certainly done it. Yeah. Sometimes you're just gonna win. So I get your point. Like, as respect to the other coach, you should. But at the same time, I feel like it's kind of a challenge for the other coach to rise to the occasion of too. Like, I'm gonna run defaults on you. How good are you at game planning?
Yeah, there's a level there. One of them, especially if you get these two teams, the Cornhuskers and Czars, those two agents just have a tendency to be default guys. They check in once a week, and that's it. But for playoffs specifically, sometimes I think that can also depend on who the coach is and how they set up. Specifically, like Alex, for example, the way he designs his teams. He designs them to kind of run these default books. And sometimes for him, it's outside of slight defensive adjustment. The offense, he can almost open himself up to messing up by changing what his team is designed to do.
That's a valid point.
Definitely on offense.
I hadn't thought about that because I'm looking at my bad team, and like I'm trying to learn from Alex, both builds but also stuff, and I'm looking, okay, during the regular season, default, and then here I am, like when I'm doing my vet team and when I'm doing the offense for the Heat, I'm looking at, I'm scouting opponents, I'm looking at tendencies, I'm looking for weaknesses, right? I'm looking for every single advantage that I can get. And early in the season when I tried that with bad, it was like, damn, we're not even going to make the playoffs. It was like, okay, Alex, please. And he graciously accepted. And he goes, default, and win. And I'm like pulling my hair out here. So I appreciate you. I very much appreciate you, Alex, because we wouldn't be in the playoffs if it wasn't for your defaults.
Scott, what did you start saying?
So a lot of what these are saying is, yeah, we're playing defaults, but the amount of work that goes into these teams before a down is played, that's what's making the difference.
Yeah,
like these are all really, really well thought out, well planned teams about, we're going to do one or two things really well, we're going to make our build set to do this, and now it's up to you to stop us.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that with like the top tier, like you guys, okay? And this is no disrespect for Czars or Viper, right? But they're both really, really good coaches, right? But I don't think that they're on that S tier, where they can get away with just that. I don't think they're built like you guys are saying, right? So I just question that. I'm like, why would you get to the playoffs unless you're an S tier coach and just run defaults? Why wouldn't you study your opponent, see their tendencies, look for weaknesses? Maybe put a play in there that they haven't seen you run or something like that. If it addresses a weakness, that's just the coach in me. You guys can get away with it because you're just that damn good, and like you said, your builds. And I'm learning that from Alex and seeing with his bad team.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if anything, you can see what I mean when I'm saying I don't game plan and solve builds, right? Because it's just like the team does something, we just build to that. I don't have to do anything anymore. The builds and the plays align, and then we win.
It's the old Vince Lombardi method.
I will say that does not tag me though. Just in general, Zars is a very good builder. He understands what he's doing. So him having an advantage in builds here too, I think. Outside of Vipermont randomly getting 8 interceptions or 8 forced fumbles like he does.
That's the only thing I never know with Vipermont, right? He builds the team specifically for turnovers. So either he wins the jackpot and you just lose the game or what you do, or he gets a turnover and he looks like an idiot.
Yeah, Viper really, I talked to Viper a lot, and his is basically he's just here for shits and gigs. He will do, like he said, he'll do some crazy ideas all across the board, and either they work or they don't, and he just doesn't care. Zars is definitely a guy, if he really, like what Scott said, if he's a great builder, if he wants to care and he wants to be an S tier, he is. But he's so much of he gets these crazy ideas he'll send me, and I'm like, what the hell are you trying to do? And he's like, but we do this, this, and this. I'm like, okay.
5 minutes a shotgun.
Yeah, right. And he sets it up, and then he just kind of forgets about it. And I have to send him a text message or something and be like, hey, you gonna apply points at any time this month? And he's like, oh yeah, that'd be good.
All right, moving on to Pumpkin League, I believe. Yes, Pumpkin League. All right, here we go. Number 1, Ceaseless Impetus 2.0 versus the wild card To the Sky. Ceaseless 13-0-1. To the Sky 10-4. Shut up, dog. Let's see my notes here. I apologize for the obnoxious dog in the background. What did I put this one? A battle between 2 of the best coaches in the game. I have to pick my guy, Ganema, though. Lately, I just started my collaboration with Alex. Before that, I was doing a collaboration with Ganema for a few seasons. I think he's an S tier coach. I think this might be his only, believe it or not, his only team in the playoffs. I don't think that he's got a rookie team in the playoffs. I'm going to shut that dog up. I'm going to let you guys talk about this, but I think it's going to be a good game between 2 of the best coaches. Like I said, I'm rooting for Ceaseless because I think this might be Ganema's only team in the playoffs, and I have that much respect for him. So I'm going to let you guys talk about Ceaseless 2.0 and To the Sky, and I'm going to try my best to shut that dog up. I'll be right back.
So for Ceaseless and To the Sky, I think it's really going to come down to basically how does To the Sky work with drops and weather. It's going to be windy, and that makes it miserable for passing teams.
Those teams weaker to the screen now too, though, than they were last season.
Both those teams are man.
Oh, well then ignore that. Yeah, I don't see how To the Sky wins then.
Mine is, if Hero shows up, maybe he's got a shot. I don't know what his tackling is. But the way Ceaseless has made that pure run offense with star O-linemen and 2-star halfbacks, those balances change just make halfbacks break even. Linebackers are struggling if they don't have high balance a little bit, if they're not at vet. And I think Ceaseless wins this unless Hero shows up and gives it a really A+ effort.
We're going to move on to Kyoto versus Screens or Clutch, whatever, whichever you want to look at it. Number 2, Kyoto, 12-1-1, versus number 3, Screens are a Crutch at a respectable 10-4 record. Screens are a Crutch, that's DL Kurt. I think the chink in DL Kurt's armor is self-admittedly his struggle with offense. So I'm going to Kyoto. Oh, what's that?
I run the offense for Screen as a Crutch.
Oh, all right. That changes things then.
It doesn't. Trust me.
All right, then fine. I'm going to go with my original Kyoto, and I'm interested to hear your pick for this game.
We're actually going to give it a shot to see if we can manage it. I think Coyote's probably. I noticed I was watching how he plays his defense, and it's kind of surprising because it looks like he went all pass defense except for his D line. Looks like they're pure run, and that really is probably going to give them the advantage.
Anyone else?
I give this one to Dolomite for sure.
I do too.
Yeah, he's a great coach.
Like, it's a standard Dolomite team essentially. So the defense is locked tight. You've got a gimmicky offense that should be just recipe for disaster.
All right, moving on to Tombstone, and yet again, I forgot the second game. But first game in Tombstone is number 1 Pushback, 14-0. So at the time when I was taking my notes, I've got in my notes, Dr. Edgar could have 2 perfect seasons, and perfect. I mean, at this time I was just thinking again of league, not ladder. But this is Edgar's second, at least his second team so far. That's 14-0 versus the Wild Card USC Trojans 10-4. So close, my notes, so close GE/Cybertron, but I don't see GE beating an Edgar team. So GE's dreams of putting some hardware up on his shelf will yet again be thwarted. So that's my pick here.
Oh, well, I didn't realize. I thought Bo managed to slide into that.
Wait,
No,
Trojans I thought the Trojans.
No. Trojan is G. I thought G.
Ghoulies edged them out. Yeah, they edged them out in tiebreakers.
Okay.
So
The Trojans definitely aren't getting a trophy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played Ghoulies. Trojans aren't in it.
yeah, Trojans are out. So yeah, he's playing Bo. That's a much more interesting matchup.
Okay.
I've got Bo.
All right, man.
And even I can tell you in that one, even with my record against Bo, I'm not confident in that game, to be honest, because I've beat him twice this year with the exact same score, I think. And both times I won like 26.
24, 27, 21, 24.
Yeah, so by a field goal both games, and I think the second game I had to go on a final drive to win.
Yep.
I beat him 3 times in one season because I give Bo crap over his quarterback, but he's a top coach, and him and I have played each other in the same league. It feels like for 60 freaking seasons almost. And I've got 3 teams that I have to play him. Well, I don't have to play him in one of them's playoff now, but it's one he may end up getting to me, especially with some of the passing changes.
I do have to say that as much as I love you there, Edgar, that I would not mind seeing some of the wealth being spread. And when I was going through this whole thing, I was noticing like a lot of the same names, a lot of those S tier coaches, and it's definitely, this is not a rip on any of you guys. I appreciate you all. I'm thankful for how you all have helped me. But I was just like, oh, another Edgar team. Oh, another Alex team. So I wish you both luck, but where you have more teams in there, it wouldn't break my heart if Bo was able to sneak one by you. Same thing like with Alex and some of his teams. Unless it's named bad, I hope that some other people get a shot at trophies unless their name is G. Just teasing GE. Anyone else?
This league, this is the championship game.
This is the championship game without a doubt. Whoever wins this will beat the other team.
Yeah, and I've skipped out notes on. I've been so busy and I've been trying to put this thing together, but between the presentation and then taking my notes for like each thing, I can't believe that I left out the Huskers versus Ronin. Who coaches Ronin? Does anyone know off the top of their head?
I believe that's Digital Daggers.
Yeah, it's Stevie.
Oh, really?
He hasn't logged in for a while.
Yeah, I love Digital Daggers, but I am online friends like I am with most of you guys with Viper, and I don't know if they will, but I'm rooting for the Huskers. And then like
Yeah,
I think the Huskers are a better built team.
but I think, yeah, either of those teams is losing to Pushback or Bow, though. So it doesn't really, like,
Nope.
good job in winning, but...
Definitely. All right, are we good on this one? Good on Tombstone?
I don't know, do we actually clear on the Bow versus Pushback game? I think we kind of, like,
You can go back to
mentioned
that.
it was a different game.
Oh,
I think Edgar was picking Bow, but I think he still wins just because Snow, right? Bow's whole team is foundationally about speed, and you're playing a Snow game.
I don't think we have snow, do we?
For our first game of the playoffs, I'm almost positive. Do we not? That'd be news to me.
Let's see. So today, tomorrow. No, we don't tomorrow. It's 23.
Cold and mild winds.
But tomorrow's ladder, right? So, not playoffs.
Tomorrow is 19 with 26 mile winds.
Oh, wow, it's a clear playoff game.
Yeah.
Ooh, I do go Bow then. Yeah.
It's just wind.
Yeah, I go Bow Italy.
I'm gonna go historical. I'm gonna say Pushback by 3.
I'm going to say Pushback wins, but for the reasons I talked about earlier, I would love to see the Trojans. I still want Edgar to get his trophies, but I'd like to see Bo to get a trophy this year.
Bo's had enough trophies.
Bo gets a trophy at least once a year usually.
Granted, but how many do you get, Edgar?
Usually about one.
Right. Well, yeah. Either way, I respect both coaches. I said I think you're going to win, but I would like to see the Trojans win.
Shame.
All right, moving on to the rookies. In Cider League, we have number 1 Mizzou Tigers at 12-2 versus the wild card Easy Going 11-3. The Tigers did win 35-31 in the regular season. This one could go either way. Hero versus Salty. Again, it's going to be who game plans. If Hero doesn't game plan, then I think it's definitely going to be easy going. I think it's going to be a great game either way, though. So I guess I'm going to pick easy going. I'm going to assume that Hero is really, really busy, and because he's got several teams in here, he's not going to game plan to the level that Salty will, so I'm picking easy going.
I'm taking Mizzou Tigers here.
I'm taking Tigers as well. I think easy going on low contracts in the cold is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, I think it's finally caught up with them, for one, and I think, two, Salty Knife has to be somebody's cousin or something, because they come into the game like your first season and have the quality of teams he's had is insane.
I've seen the name around for a long time.
Have you? And it's the first time I've ever seen him, so maybe he's always been around, but, like, just comes into the game as like a top 25 coach, easy, you know?
I know he's been around a while, and I think I've even seen him on a few teams. But that's the one, like you said, Scott and Alex both said it, easy going on the low contracts in cold weather, because morale's going to tank off of one bad play. And he went zone when zone needs morale. If your morale goes down, you're already giving up to passes without the crazy jumps, which is better. But now you're going to hit a morale thing, and it's just going to tank. He's not going to be able to stop the run or pass.
All right. In the second game, number 2, it's Blitz, 11-3 versus number 3, Lincoln Prep, 10-3-1. Regular season, Lincoln Prep won 27-6. I don't really know either of these teams well enough. Their records are pretty close. It was a 1-point game. Yeah, I can't pick. I'm going to pass to you guys.
Seeing as it's not snow, I think it's Blitz is going to run away with this.
Yeah, I agree. I think the last time they played, it was rain as well, which is never going to be to a blitzing team's advantage, it feels like.
Looking at it, it's a Blitz. That's a germ to Alex, right?
No, that's bad. It's Blitz.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's just Alex. I think that just runs to if Alex decides to show up and actually change that team's anything info. If he changes
Don't know if he necessarily has to, with the way that its team is set up.
and it's true. But the Lincoln Prep is the phenom who likes to do some random things. I'm just going to give Lincoln Prep because I want to make Alex game plan.
Outrageous.
Yeah, actually, knowing that it's Blitz is Alex's team, and Alex has got a lot of skin in all these other games. I'm gonna take Lincoln Prep for that same reason that I took whoever it was over Edgar's team.
Cable said it's a Blitz.
Okay. Oh, good. Cable was able at least to text.
Yeah.
Bummer that he's having to work or not being able to join us because it would have been cool, but we totally understand. Pretty psyched to have all of you on board. I hope that anyone that's watching the live stream or that takes the time to watch the YouTube video appreciates it as much. All right, moving on to Leaf. We've got Bad Ideas at 14-0 versus Green Bay Freeze 10-4. So yeah, this was another one of those Dr. Edgar teams that I was talking about that could have a perfect league season against Green Bay Freeze. That's your team, right, Scott?
Yes, it is.
All right. So obviously, Bad Ideas beat the Freeze.
We didn't have rain.
Yeah, it's not raining, so I'm going to pick myself.
I'm taking Scott here in the snow.
Is it snowing though? We said.
No, it's not. That's why I'm going to take him for sure.
Oh.
That's light winds. Yeah, this game completely falls down to, with Bad Ideas being my team, it's 100 strip technique day one. Basically, if I don't manage to strip him a bunch and knock passes loose, I lose.
So what you're saying is, in the rain, it helps.
Oh yeah. The rain.
I got him twice in the regular season, and it rained both times.
It was a blessing. I think the first game was beginning of the season. The passing changes were weird. I had the advantage. But the second game, did we have the pass changes happen again before that game?
Yeah, it was like the day before.
Yeah. And it made it where he was passing better. But the big thing is we were seeing the strip, even though it wasn't causing fumbles, this guy would catch it and then it would get knocked loose from the
There was
strip.
17 knock looses in that second game.
Yeah. And basically, I'm going to have to pray that we can swarm him fast enough to do that again. And I don't know without rain that we can.
So here's a question for you that I've been wondering about. I mean, back in the day, it was all about power tackling to cause fumbles, right? and everything. But I believe that the whole strip tech is cheaper than power tackling. So in your minds, which is better? Option A, pure power tackling. Option B, pure strip tech. Option C, kind of like a combination of the two.
A combination for sure.
Combo is the best. There's no question.
Because like for put into both on a combo.
I'd like to see like 60 power, 40 strip. I think
that's the traditional. That's what I have everywhere on Southside.
For me, it really depends on how many power backs there are in the league. You need enough power where you're not getting ran over, but everything extra should be in strip.
I agree with that though. Like if you have all elusive backs, I could see 30 power and 80 strip or something like that.
What I'm expecting to see is Bad Ideas is going to, like this season we performed better than expected, and without a question. I have to spend all of my points in the off season, like for those builds, for me to hope that powerbacks don't destroy me. I'm also having to go to 100 tackling technique and 90 to 100 tackling grip, because without that extra, if you're going to just advise someone to do it, without all that extra grip and tackling technique, a powerback is just going to ruin you for most of the game. You're going to get 2 fumbles, so it's not going to matter.
Kavo is saying 100% power, and he'll mortgage everything for 1 more point in power hit.
Yeah. That's like, this is a team I'm not using really any essays for forcing fumbles. And because of the way I was reading Zone Shark, I'm actually really debating Zone Shark using on this team, and I hate that essay.
Very interesting. Well, anyways, that's going to be another one of those games that I'm looking forward to watching. I know. I wish that I had a break coming up, like for school break coming up this week, because I would like to do like round 2 and championship. Well, maybe even round 2 as another video, champions as another video, but then like some looking at some game footage. But I'm only able to do this one right now because it's the long weekend because of MLK. So I'll have to see what days those other ones fall on. But moving on to Shinozo versus Super Smash Ballers. Shinozo 11-3. They're the 3 seed. Super Smash Ballers 12-2. They're the number 2 seed. They did beat Shinzo 19-17 in the regular season. Bo versus Mango Fandango. Another game between 2 great coaches. If not S tier, solidly A tier for sure. If we're trying to not just throw all coaches into the S tier. I think the score showed it 19-17, right? 12-2, 11-3, right? That win was the difference between them basically. Bo and Mango, both really good coaches. Man, I'm not gonna pick. I can't pick. I think it's gonna be a tie. There we go. Even though it can't be ties. You guys, what do you think?
I'm taking Mango.
I am also taking Mango because I don't think SSB is going to hit 4 field goals in this next game.
Yeah, this one for me, I'm the same. At Mango, I just think it's a much better team in general. Bo's team just played that team well. But even seeing compared to how his team versus Mango's has played other good quality opponents, I think Mango's team is just a better team. And he's a great coach. I think he'll come out and I think he's going to shut Bo down.
All right. Speaking of the rain, we've got the number 1 Park Rangers, 13-0-1, another Mango team, versus the wild card Vermont Irregulars. They did, of note, they did tie the Park Rangers in the last game of the season. Now, it could have been a default plan. I think that I'm not sure who. I didn't write down who the Vermont Irregulars coach is, but we were just speaking of the caliber of Mango. So I got to take the Park Rangers here. What else? I know who that coach is. It's Udigaha, whatever the heck. He's been in GLB2 for a long time, usually making players. But I don't recall ever seeing him in the forums. And he's been on teams that I've coached, and I've sent him messages to which he's never replied. So while I love the name of his team, Vermont Irregulars, because I grew up in Vermont, because he's against Mango, though, and because I don't see him in the forums, and again, I've coached him on teams, and he's never replied. Kind of upsets me a little bit, almost as much as like when you're on somebody's team and the coaches or the owner or whatever don't like give you any feedback, don't give you any interaction, don't. I just like, yeah, that both those drive me absolutely crazy, and I'm not trying to be a jerk, but if you're going to be like that, you're not going to respond to my emails, or it's your team and, you send me blind invites or you don't communicate with me, I'm not going to bother with you. You're wasting my time. But that's a tangent. So I picked Park Rangers. You guys?
I also picked Park Rangers. I mean, it's a good coach with a good team.
Yep. All right.
Yeah, I don't think this game's even close. I think Mango's team is just so much better.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything. Okay.
No, I said I agree.
Oh. Yeah, I think even they tied, I'm looking at that game, and that was Mango trying to be cute. He threw 73 passes and 0 runs that game. Assuming he doesn't do that in the playoffs, I don't think there's any actual shot.
Okay. Moving on to game 2. Atlanta University Center 12-2 versus River City Raiders 16-11. The AUC coached by 4chan. River City Raiders coached by Cyber Ninja. I would really love to see Cyber Ninja advance. It's been around for a while. But 4chan is, I think, a pretty good coach. And I think that 4chan's AUC will earn the victory here. And then hopefully we'll see a good game in the semis versus the Park Rangers. Thoughts?
I think Atlanta probably wins, but I'm the same. I'm rooting for Cyber.
So this team for Cybers is actually one that I've been helped like 10 days into the season. He saw me make a post in the forums that I said I'd help anyone. So would Alex and so would Scott if they just asked. And he sent me a message. So we rebuilt this team completely. I gave him playbooks to start with via Scout. So he has base stuff, and I still check in every once in a while and look at stuff and advise him. If he gets on and makes some adjustments, he's got a good shot. Just because he's been around since like season 2, I'd like to see him win. But 4chan's team's been pretty consistent. Both are zone 2, so this one may purely come down to whose offense does better.
All right.
It's going to come down to who throws less.
Yeah.
And coming down to the final 2 leagues, we got the Turkey League, gobble, 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 right? Number 1, Las Vegas Supreme, 14-0. Don't be surprised. Excedrin. Is it okay if I reveal who Excedrin really is? I think
That's fine.
Is Alex. And he is aiming for an undefeated regular season as well. At 14-0, but he is going up against Feep, and we talked Feep's just testing stuff. We talked about Feep earlier. Because it's Feep and he is just testing stuffs, I don't see him being able to beat the Las Vegas Supreme. And I played when I was coaching the Heat against Las Vegas Supreme before I knew it was LX. And yeah, they're an LX team. There's what you expect from an LX team. So I don't think you can just test stuff. I think you have to have your shit together if you're going to have a chance of beating Las Vegas Supreme. Next.
Well, I can't change anything because it's Feet. So anything I do, he may do in counter of. I'm just going to let it go, and if he wants to beat me, he can beat me, honestly.
I would really like for Alex to lose because then I think it would give me the ladder over him. Yeah, it's being the fact. God love Feet. It's hell. At one point, he was messaging me and he didn't log in for 20 days and play SP. So, and he's kind of just blah with the game right now with how changes have been. Unless he really just wants to mess with Alex, I don't think this game will be much of anything.
Tell you what, that'd be pretty fun if you logs in game plans for one day and you're like, well, all right then.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I can do better anyway.
Right. Moving on to the second game. Vegas Nighthawks versus the Wichita Shockers. Nighthawks, are the number 2 seed, 13-1. Cyber with 2 teams in the playoffs. So it looks like, was it Edgar? Who was the one that said that they were helping Cyber out with his other team?
I am, yeah. And I think he said he used a lot of the similar ideas for that team. So
good job, Coach.
Coach.
It's made a difference. Good job. Yeah, and I mean their only loss, the Nighthawks' only loss was to that other team from Vegas. And I'll say I played against again, I coached against them, and both those teams beat me in the Heat. So number 3, Wichita Shockers, 8-6. From what I saw, actually, interesting note. Both teams are Cyber Ninja / Echelon. So I'm definitely thinking that record-wise and such, I'm definitely thinking that Nighthawks will come away with victorious in that game. Be neat. We'll have a Vegas on Vegas. If we have a Vegas on Vegas semifinal, not semifinals, championship game. Thoughts?
I don't know the coaching staff for both of these. Like, if either one is actually doing one for one and not for the other. But like you said, just based off of the records, it's got to be the Nighthawks.
Anyone else?
I completely agree. Got to be Nighthawks.
All right, moving on to the final league, the Wind League, and we'll save the best game for last. So we'll look at the 2 versus 3 first. At least in my mind, the best game for last, hopefully. Louisville Mavericks, number 2 seed, 11-2-1 versus 03 Skurs at 9-5. I mentioned earlier in the stream the respect that I have for KO and how hard he's been working his ass off on the forums, asking questions, and obviously to be where he is sitting, he's coaching the way that I like to coach as far as scouting, and I'm assuming that, but I think that for KO to be sitting at 11-2, is pretty respectable. And then we've got another Viper team. I think, Louisville is the favorite in my mind. But I'm going to hope that Viper wins, and that bad wins, setting up a bad versus 03 Eskers or whatever, Skurs championship game. So, but I think that the Mavericks are going to win, even though I'm hoping for the Skurs to win. Thoughts on the Louisville game versus 03 Skurs?
Yeah, I don't think there's any chance of Viper winning this game, even if he wanted to. Like, KO's really strong. The defense of that team is very, very strong.
And KO's a guy that was around in the beginning really well. And he used to be a really good offensive coach back in the day, and then he was left and they came back. I don't think Viper, even if, like Alex said, even if Viper tried, I don't think he has a single shot in that game.
I didn't know that about KO. I'm giving him all this credit for like coming on and being a newbie and working the forums and applying it and everything. So I did not realize that he was a returning. Would you say back in the day he was an A tier or an S tier or a B tier? Where would you rank him back in the day when he was here before he came back?
He was probably in that A range for what we had back then.
Well, it's good to have you back, KO. And you were still working the forums, so I can respect that. Anyone else on 2 versus 3? All right.
If Viper does game plan, he's got a shot. Just in terms of offense, he's got to basically turn it on. Otherwise, the teams match up pretty well, actually. Especially for a Viper team that passes, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
It's blasphemy.
He just likes to mix things up, and he's in. I think that Viper and Feep are very similar. They just like to try to do things, having fun with the game. They want to be competitive, but it's not like the whole thing to them. I mean, we've actually seen it like with where I think it was Viper that got a little bit upset down the road about like how it's not so much like real football and such. There's actually like a gaming component to this. That makes it not so much like real football. So yeah, I agree. I want to see Viper's team win because I want to see Bad win, and I would really love to have a Bad versus Viper matchup. But Bad has to get by the Drunken Lads, and we haven't done so yet in 2 games. So I'm kind of going all in on LX and hoping that the third time is the charm. So you get your work cut out for you, Alex. Anyone on the first game? Lads versus Bad.
So the Drunken Lads are a legit team. They're game planning every game, it looks like, or nearly every game. And they have something you don't normally see, which is passing to your halfback and fullback.
It's not screens.
That's not screens, true.
Yeah, I'm sorry for you there, Jerem, but I think Drunken Lads, I think this is kind of an easy pick. Ninja was actually a guy, same thing. He was around for the first 15 or so seasons and was a pretty good coach back then and then quit. And then he's had a phenomenal defense this season.
I mean, the other side of this, though, is Blitz and Dead has the number 1 pass defense. Drunken Lads is a primary pass team.
It's true.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I do think that the Drunken Lads will beat us based on the regular season. The only ace that I have up my sleeve is Alex. That's the only, yeah.
The Avengers with Loki. You've got all these great passing weapons, but I've got an Alex.
It might be enough for us.
That was my plan when I collaborated with Alex. Well, one of the best coaches in the game, and also in the original, it was going to be like his builds and like my coaching. But early in the season, my coaching just wasn't getting it done. So thankfully, Alex stepped up, and you can all see the results. But yeah, so yeah, I wanted to have an Alex up my sleeve. So that was another reason why I'm grateful that he collaborated with me. So hopefully next season I can take a little bit off his shoulders. But like I said, I mean, I want to win. I want to win team championships because for the longest time I coached other people's teams, and if we were able to look at like championships from just pure coaching and not being an owner, I think I'd have many more than I do currently. So I'm gonna be honest, it's me being a bit selfish.
I think you and I, Ager, might have the most GM trophies of any coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's one there. To what Scott was saying, Bad has the number one pass defense. But then I just happened to look. Drunken has the number one run defense. Historically, an Alex-based and a Germ-based teams are very dependent on their halfbacks doing well.
How can you say something so controversial yet so brave?
Facts are facts.
Well, Mike.
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
That's. Go ahead.
No, I guess I don't have anything to say about it. Like, it's just going to be a real tough game. I think both of us literally play into the other person's strengths.
And the games that we played against him in the regular season were very good games, you know. So, anyways, we could continue to talk. That's it for the leagues. So, again, I want to thank you all. Well, first off, I want to thank Scott for being the impetus for picking this back up. So thank you for that, Scott. And like always, thank you all for joining me with this because while I could have done this on my own, it would nowhere near be as absolutely incredible as I think that it was. And I hope that our community takes some time to watch it and appreciate it. And I am, as I say, a lot grateful to all of you for pitching in, but for everything that you do for this community as well. So thank you very much. And if we can keep talking, if you guys have anything you want to talk about, otherwise, when everyone has had their say, I will probably call it a stream.
I'm definitely looking forward to a lot of these. I'm looking forward to a lot of these games. This is a particularly good set of matchups this season across the board. There's hardly any chaff games, which you get once in a while when you get a 4 seed popping in somehow getting an easy division or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think
All the wild cards are really good matchups for the top teams this season.
I think so often it's always been true, right? Like the wild card is usually more dangerous than the number 2 or number 3. Like I'm always happy if I end up number 2 or 3 seeded in the end of the season, as opposed to being number 1. I feel like number 1 often gets the harder matchup. Like almost every time it just works out that way.
Yeah, I think I've only one time ever where I've intentionally lost the last game just so I could slide from first to wild card. I have done that once. I was like, you know what? Fuck that. I want it this way.
But yeah, I think I agree with Scott. Most of these games this time around are actually really interesting. I think there's only one bad league really, which is like Turkey League, where like you know how that's going to go. At least for the first game.
Hey, did you just say you agree with Scott?
It happens every once in a while. About more uncontroversial things. And actually, too, I'll tell you, being around Scott is slow and insidious because the longer I've been around Scott, the more I've become Scott. So the things he say, they don't sound as crazy anymore.
It's working.
Your evil plan, Scott, is working?
It's taken him 30 seasons to beat his brains in a little.
Hey, bad ideas are only bad if they don't work.
It's like an earworm, because now whenever I do a team without Scott, which a lot of teams are nowadays, it's like I still have his voice whispering in my ear, telling me things.
Well, like a strip tech.
No, Scott, it literally is. We switched roles in a couple teams that you weren't around to build that I was. It was literally, it switched where he started throwing this just special needs things. The only difference was I didn't do what Alex did to you, where he said, I've watched him and listened to him go, nah, fuck you, that's terrible. We're going to do all this. I'm like, you just this little bit to be a little safer. And he's like, no. And then he does it, and he's like, all right, yeah, you're right, that's fine.
Oh, I love building teams with multiple people. In my opinion, that's the best thing about GLB.
I mean,
if there's any advice I could ever give anybody, it's literally do that. Get 5 or 6 agents together and build a team together. Like, really build a team together.
I don't know about 5. Well, you mean for building dots, or like 5 cooks in the kitchen? I think
5 cooks in the kitchen.
Oh,
5 cooks in the kitchen.
Like,
I don't know. I think 2. Like, I have a hard time. Like 2 is perfect for me. You know, but like more than that, I think it's so challenging to get all those ideas in there, especially if there's people of differing opinions. You know,
it probably took us literally a month to build the first riff because how many people were involved in that team. Like every single day, 30 days straight, running on that team. But I'll say, probably 80% or more of like my total coaching experience ever was getting into building that team. Building that team made me the kind of coach that I am now, the kind of builder I am, that I wouldn't have been without that team.
Yeah,
we went through probably 4 or 5 years worth of experience in a month because of the amount of talking and back and forth that happened for Riff.
We did that same thing with that 5 Idiots team where it was Scott, Alex, me, and Czars. We did the same thing. We were on voice chat, 4 days a week, every week for like a month before the season started. And it was just dumb idea after dumb idea. We changed 40 things. One of us would throw a build out, and then 2 others would throw a conversion of that build into something, and then the person that hasn't been talking would end up throwing in the last build. You're like, oh yeah, shit, that's great.
Maybe the next time you guys put one of these mega collaborations together, I'll ask to be invited. Because I can definitely see how if you have like that many, especially top tier coaches involved, how that would accelerate your learning. Because like I said, I'm learning a lot from just this collaboration. My last collaboration with Ghanima, right, was my first time ever doing Zone. And then this collaboration, like with LX, like learning a lot because, yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
One of the things, when you do the big ones with a lot of top agents, the one thing that can happen is you get a lot of special needs ideas. Because instead of doing when you get that many good, really high-end coaches, instead of getting, we all know how to build teams that are going to be really good teams, they're going to be solid, even with changes in the game, with small tweaks, they'll survive. But like when you get 4 or 5 really top coaches, it's nice, even for guys that are learning to get in there, because you'll see, oh, here's the safe, here's what we know works, and then you're going to get the 4 other things that are, wouldn't this be fucking hilarious if we can make this work? And
there is a lot of that.
And even I've done what comes from those teams is what later you use pieces of for other teams, because maybe that whole team together with all the just insaneness kind of is iffy on the whole team. But when you find pieces out of those, you can then go, well, I can take that crazy piece and do a slight adjustment, and now it's just a good build for something safe and reliable to compete at a high level too.
Yeah, that's absolutely what I would tell people, right? Is that like builders, the best builders, at a certain point, you just have like a toolbox, right? And so you're like, okay, well, I need this kind of halfback for this team. And then you just go into the toolbox, right? I've got 6 different halfbacks that I know all work. That only because I did this dumbass idea in the first place do we know it works, right? Like Slombo is just now a halfback that will ever exist in the stratosphere of halfbacks because we went to the trouble of proving that a back could be that slow, right? And you do that with all the teams that you do. You do strip technique teams. You do a 100 strip technique zone middle linebacker. And you're like, you know what? The team sucked. But this player, this position, and this build, this works. I can use this again. And then you build a whole catalog of players off of that.
Look, I'm even debating because of the bad ideas. I have all this strip. I have one middle linebacker, and it's his own team. But all of a sudden, I was messing around in FIFE, and he was like, could you get 100 in all tackling skills? That guy is actually really solid for me. And all of a sudden, he's going to be a really slow middle linebacker, but he's got all these weird tangibles. And I'm like, all of a sudden, I'm like, this might actually have something to it more than just the hilariousness.
Well, especially too, as you keep doing teams, and you're like, oh, well, my corners on this team really let me down, but you know now what you need to plug in that position. Like, okay, I need a faster corner at this position, or I need more run block. You have those built at your disposal where you can take, and Frankenstein a team together just off of what pieces weren't quite there.
Even like Gonma's on mute right now, but he did check in with us here. Gonma did that. His first ceaseless team was unboosted. He only had a star halfback, I think. But he was like, I want to see how it can do. And there he is.
No stars at all.
Yeah, no stars. And then he turned around and he's like, now his sophomore team that's been really good. He went, now what's going to happen when I do this crazy idea that I tested with all these stars? And then it's, oh shit, how do you stop it outside of building a defense? It's basically an exact counter to his offense.
And then you weaken yourself up against all the other teams in the league, right? If you just focus on one guy.
Right. Exactly. And it's very rare that anyone wants to do that with their team because, okay, to a level what the game is, I mean, you might be all right if you build a team truly to a counter to Gonma right now because so many running backs are dominant. Okay, well, now you can take out, if you can stop him, you can probably stop all the running backs, and then you just have to game plan for the pass more.
Yeah, I am going to miss, because when this is my vet zone team, their zone blitz team. This is their last season. I didn't renew them. I'm going to miss my Gonma power halfback bulldozer. He was so much fun to watch this run. But like you guys said, I'll have that build in my tool chest so that when I need another power runner, I can plug him in. My project right now that I'm working on with Alex is on bad is my halfback is my son, basically. He's a 13-year-old, but I wanted him to be like elusive, fast. I wanted to see him so we have Alex wasn't in favor of this, but he let me do it because it's my team. So he's got spin and juke, I think.
Yeah, he's got juke.
Yep. So I envision him by the time he's in vet, just like spinning and juking and fast and elusive. So he'll be fun to watch.
He'll be fun to watch for sure.
Yeah, he's not going to be a top. Probably won't be a top tier running back, but the rest of the team will have to be built around that to pick up the load because I love my boy.
I mean, movement-based abilities are one of the defining things of really, really good defenses, to get around them, that is.
Yeah, I think Camille said this one time, and I don't know if his opinion about it's ever changed, but it made sense to me at the time. And he said that, an ability like juke in a game anyway, it doesn't matter when it costs you. And against the best teams, when it costs you, it would have cost you anyway, right? If I juke here and I get tackled for a 3-yard loss, if I didn't have it, it would have been a 1-yard loss. It's not that big a deal. But against the best teams, the only time you will score on them is when something goes wrong, and juke introduces that element for something to go wrong.
Yeah, even for years, Zellers used to cuss me because teams I would use juke so when it was worse before, and he'd be like, "Well, for the love of God, please take it off." And I'm like, "No, I like it exactly for that. It may give me one bad play a game, but it also gives me 3 good. I'll deal with the one bad to have a couple potential goods."
Yeah, that's the thing.
And now,
go ahead.
Now Zellers has juke on his vet team. And I saw it, and I had to send to him, like, "You son of a bitch, you always cuss me." And he laughed. I'm like, "But here's 4 clips, so I just watched it get you 3 touchdowns."
Yeah, I know. Like after the first time that Alex had been talking about before we started our collaboration about like how much he despises juke. Like I would be watching games that were where I forgot what team it was. Might have been Bob's, one of Murdoch. That might have been Kentucky, actually. I think it was Kentucky. And so I'm like, okay, like I respect what Alex says, so I'm watching and I'm watching and I'm watching. I'm like, okay, yep, I can see that time where it cost us, but then I could see other times where it was of benefit. So I was like, I just don't see that it's that. I don't see that it's that bad, and so I wanted it to fit like my son. This might be the only one that I ever make, but when I made that player, I wanted him to be like my son, Barry Sanders Jr.
I think this also goes back to just a lot about coaching style, how you feel about juke at the end of the day. I'm somebody where even if I take a lot of risks with like the concept of the team, once I'm in the sim, everything I do is to maximize risk aversion, right? Like if you that's what makes my default that's so strong is that it's not like it's doing anything in particular. It's just using the mathematically best stuff every single time in every situation, right? That's all it does.
Yeah, you and I are going to definitely have to talk sometime in the voice channel so I can learn more from you because, and maybe that's the difference. Now that you've gotten used to me as a coach, right? When you and I were first meeting, right? I was able to out-scheme you sometimes, never able to outbuild you. But I think that the builds and your like risk limiting thing is what gives you the major advantage that you have over me for right now. I can't, I always put 100% when I play against you. Well, maybe not recently when I was playing against you because it's just like, all right, I'm going to lose anyway. So I'm too busy to screw around. But I think that's what gives you that little bit extra to just push by me. Like I can't just out scheme you now because you're so damn familiar with me. All right. Anything else you guys want to say? If not, I'm going to wrap it up. Get some lunch.
I think I'm good.
All right, my friends. Oh, go ahead.
Good hearing from everyone.
That was a good discussion. I'm glad we did it.
All right. I'm going to work on putting this up on YouTube and putting it up on, once I get it YouTubed, I'll put it up in the GLB2 forums and on the Academy. So if people people that didn't get to catch the live stream want to watch the video, they can. So I will be back in touch with you guys for some future stream, depending on when I have availability. Take care and signing off. How do you